Have you seen the documentary Fat Fiction? If you haven't, I recommend you see it. I'm Dr. Brett Scher, the medical director at dietdoctor.com. And in full disclosure, I was in the documentary. I was in the film, so I certainly have a biased opinion of it. But I think it was a wonderful depiction of what healthcare can and should look like. The way it followed Dr. Lenskis and his interaction with his patients, and nutritionist Alyssa Gallagher and her interaction with her clients. And it provided a sense of hope, that showing how we can transform patients' lives and physicians' practices and clinicians' practices by using low carb, that we can have this great of an impact on people in such a positive way to help them lose weight, reverse their metabolic syndrome, reverse their diabetes, and so many other health benefits. And it did it in a very practical and enlightening way. And so I really appreciate that part of the documentary. Now, what's interesting though is Adele Height recently wrote a review of the documentary at dietdoctor.com. And I expected it to be a, glowingly positive review, which is sort of my feeling of the documentary. But as Adele does, she doesn't take anything for granted. She doesn't take anything on face value. She digs deeper to make sure that everything is true and defensible by facts. And she brought up some very good points in her review, which are not specifically necessarily about just this documentary, but really about the low carb community in general. And I think we need to talk about that a little bit. Look, this happens all the time, that beliefs get passed down over time and they eventually just get to be assumed as true. It happens in medicine all the time. It certainly happens in nutrition, regardless of your nutritional beliefs. And we have to be honest with ourselves that it happens in the low carb community, whether it's, speakers at major meetings and their PowerPoint presentations, whether it's people posting on social media, or whether it's, films and documentaries. Certain things are just assumed to be true. And Adele does a good job of pointing out what those are. And a lot of them revolve around the dietary guidelines. So this concept that the dietary guidelines, instituting low-fat nutrition, recommending low-fat nutrition, is what caused us to go down this path of obesity and diabetes and metabolic syndrome. And on the surface, you can say that's, associated. It's certainly associated. Because what were these guidelines supposed to do? They were meant to teach us how to eat to be healthier. And they clearly didn't succeed in that. They didn't create the atmosphere to make us healthy, because it's soon after is when the obesity epidemic started and the type 2 diabetes and metabolic syndrome epidemic started. But that doesn't mean it was the low-fat diet itself, because let's be honest, not many people followed the diet to the letter of the law, because you're also supposed to back off on sugars and total calories, and those things didn't happen. So although there's conflicting evidence, it seems what happened was carbohydrate intake went up, fat as a percentage of total calories went down, but total calories went up, because it created an atmosphere where people were hungry and craving, and companies swooped right in and said, look, we can promote low-fat food as healthy, and then everybody's going to flock to it and eat it, and it was $1 billion industry. But what did it do? It flooded us with sugars, refined oils, extra carbohydrates, and extra calories that we didn't need. So is that fair then to say it's the low-fat guidelines, the low-fat diet that caused this? Or is it sort of our societal reaction to those guidelines? So, some may think it doesn't matter. It's all the same. But if you're really getting down to it, it kind of does make a difference. It does make a difference how you interpret it. And Adele did a good job of pointing that out. And she actually brought up a couple other really good issues, which we had talked about before. This issue of calling people diabetics. And again, it's just something that happens time and time again. But people are not their disease. They may be a person with diabetes, a person struggling with diabetes, type 2 diabetes or type 1 diabetes. But that doesn't make them a diabetic. And again, some people may not even notice it. It may not even register in their brain. But I think it's important that we start to realize the words we use matter. And this concept of a lot of pictures, and I've done this too in my PowerPoint slides and my talks, that you show these pictures of sort of faceless, overweight people drinking a soda can. And in a way, it's objectifying their obesity to sort of fit your narrative. Now, Fat Fiction does a great job of also showing real patients and real life people, showing their personalities, that they're far more than just a faceless picture. But at the same time, it also uses the faceless pictures, which are pervasive throughout not just the low carb world, but nutrition in general. And again, Adeles not going to take it. She wants to point it out so that we realize what we're doing and be more conscious about that. And I think it's great because really I haven't heard anybody else talking about it. So I thought that was a very good point by hers. She also, this was also interesting. Dave Asprey is in there, and he had some interesting points. I guess you can call them interesting. That grass-fed animals produce high-quality poop, which makes high-quality vegetables. Okay, I mean, it's a documentary. It's not a scientific paper that's being put out for publication, but something like that. I don't know if you have a close medical review of it. I don't think we have any evidence to back that up, but it's certainly interesting to hear, or just interesting to think if it could be true. But of course, Adel's not going to let that slide. So she brought that up. So anyway, I think to sum this up, look, it's a wonderful documentary. It is very well done, high quality production. I love the interaction of the clients and the patients. I love the message of hope of what healthcare can and should look like. But as Adele points out, we have to be more aware in the low carb community as a whole, in the nutrition community as a whole, of what we just accept as fact, is what we just take as being fact, rather than really looking at the nuance and the specifics of the details. So hopefully this was helpful. You can go to dietdoctor.com and see her whole post about it. And these are things we need to be aware of because we need to make sure our message is trustworthy and our message is balanced. But overall, I think Fat Fiction does a great job, and I recommend you all go see it. Thanks a lot. Have a great day. Stay safe and be well.